I think journalism is adjusting to the platforms. It's adjusting to the contours of the technology. You know, gone are the days that you could write in a simple narrative, etc. That simple narrative doesn't work in 140 characters on Twitter. It doesn't work in a visually stunning way on an iPad. It doesn't work necessarily in a lot of these different platforms. So I'm thinking it's less the raw news and journalism, but sort of how we tell the story in words, visually, and by voice for that matter, that's changing. No, I mean, I really do think those are simply pointers. You know, those are great connectors to great journalism. And so I don't think it's something we should fear. I think it's something we should embrace. And look, at the end of the day, we should always be media companies that go where the consumers go. And if they're all on Twitter, that's where we need to be. If they're all on Facebook, that's where we need to be. So, you know, sort of the tenor of this meeting was interesting because at some point, you know, we suddenly realized that these questions are getting a little negative. And look, technology is disproportionately positive to journalism, to getting it into more hands, to get people to engage with it deeper and deeper. So I'm thankful for the opportunity of social media to get people to engage. I just want to find ways to pay for it. Well, it does no good. Well, there's a couple of maxims. It does no good to write an article that nobody reads. It does no good to write an article if you're not going to get paid. At the end of the day, I'd love to think the world operates without money, but look, we've got to figure out a way as we leave the shell of print, which is the most magnificent funding mechanism for news and journalism. As we leave the comfortable confines of print, how do we find ways, either through advertising or direct consumer pay, you know, how do we get the money to fund the quality that you heard around this table that's so important moving forward? And there's so many examples of that right now. Paywalls are an example. Closed garden applications are a model. You know, there was this crazy story. Remember that crazy story, was it 2 years ago, the former American Olympian Bruce Jenner changes sex, has a sex change operation, and becomes Caitlyn Jenner. Vanity Fair magazine, this is not widely known, Vanity Fair magazine went to its existing database, sent an email around, and actually charged strictly for the article, early access to the article. They sold tens of thousands of access to this article. Okay, I haven't heard too many of those examples out there. So I think there are lots of different models that are emerging. None are killer applications. I mentioned this morning Blendle, pay-per-view, the iPad app with La Presse in Canada, the paywalls around the world. So yes, it's vital, and yes, we are coming up with ideas. I just wish they were coming faster.
The local editions, there was a time that most of the newspapers had several editions, regional editions, but some of them are dying in the Western world. But in our part of the world, just across the border in India, some of the major titles, they have dozens of editions, regional editions, and they are doing very well. Do you think that in the new environment that edition business will remain for the print media?
So let me share with you different experiences, which is why this is going to be different. In my hometown of Dallas, Texas, the local newspaper there is the Dallas Morning News. And you have this suburbanization and exurbanization, so people are moving further and further away from the city center, to the point where people are losing their affiliation with the city of Dallas. And the Dallas Morning News did an interesting piece of research in the last 10 years, and they asked this question to the people in the suburbs of Plano and Frisco and Arlington. Simple question: what city do you live in? Not one said Dallas. So, you know, on the one hand, you've got a situation where people are losing their sense of identity to the mother city. And so you do need those sort of local people in Dallas. So those additions started going away. They're still pretty darn important in a lot of those Indian cities and a lot of especially the Hindi belt, because of the dialects. Can you imagine 100 different editions and 100 different dialects? Yeah?
How it's going to affect the future of the television media?
Well, I think TV media will always be around. I think what's happening is that the tools for video, as we get into the big data era, as the tools to produce video, you know, just get better and better, cheaper and cheaper, you know, just like the millennial and their smartphone, they're now a publisher. And now then, a bloody newspaper is a video producer and is suddenly a TV channel. But I see two icebergs slowly colliding into each other. You've got traditional television going in the same direction, but now you have this online video. Every news organization is going to have a video operation. And you saw Fairfax Media, I mean, they've got 15 channels, all online. And that's getting better and better.
Beyond 3 years, what do you see?
It's like imagining your child at the age of 9 and what she's going to look like at 24. It's hard to imagine. I think that there will only be news companies, not newspapers, not magazines, not TV channels. They're just all news companies. And the TV channels are going to have websites. They already do. Some of them are going to decide to reverse publish into print. Why not? Digital pure plays, Politico in Washington, D.C., they reverse publish into print when Congress is in session. Hang on, that's digital encroaching on print. I think print's going to be more involved with video. They're going to be more involved with podcasts. I think you're going to see the death of FM radio and the rise of digital radio. So, you know, back to the core of the question here, the future of journalism, it's the ecosystem that's changing. And you might have to change the storytelling a little bit, but the core of journalism is going to be what it's always been.
Do you see any threat for creative journalism, or as a profession, journalists will face serious challenge from this artificial intelligence?
Totality of content produced, and say, what percentage of all that universe, if that's 100%, and here's a pie, what percentage of that is commodity news? What percentage of it was my story about writing down sports scores and manually I mean, in some ways, don't we want that to go away? If a computer or a software program can do that, don't we want that to go away and free up more time for better quality or better quantity or better speed? I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's a good thing. And, you know, I've never actually analyzed what percentage of the total output of a newsroom is commodity versus value. That's a great question. And I think so far all AI is doing is basically taking out of human hands the commodity part of it. It's, by the way, the same situation in terms of Uber and the driverless car versus having drivers in the car looking at GPS versus Uber taking you exactly where. Is it a bad thing that we're getting rid of those drivers? Not for the consumer.
But ultimately,
human touch will absolutely remain, but it's going to be focused on the highest value things that require judgment, things that require opinion, things that require heart and soul, and the commodities will hopefully leave human hands. That's a good thing.
thank you.